Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we're going to talk about the Evolution email client, and we're going to dive into this in a little bit more detail. So if you are new to Linux and client software, we're going to go ahead and set this up and show you all of the ins and outs to use it. Now, this is overall my favorite client. I use a combination of this and Thunderbird. Now, this is a more of a classic mail client. So if you are in more old school, you want the whole unified inbox and more professional overall setup, I think Evolution is going to be your best overall bet. Other ones that are similar to it is Kmail if you're running a KDE system, but I did find the setup on that was a little bit wonkier at the time that I used it. Now, with Evolution, it does have a little bit of an older appearance, which is personally something I like. I don't like a lot of the modern bling. I don't like the fact that nearly every other mail client now is giving you a separate line item for every email address. I don't like that because I will use multiple different email addresses for my one individual business. I want all of those emails to pump into one inbox without discernment of where that comes from. And I'm going to use the advanced mail filters in order to sort those emails. Now, that's not what everybody wants. In fact, for some of my other businesses and other emails that I do use Thunderbird explicitly to separate the emails into line items. So we're talking about the ability to both of those. But on this video here, I want to show you the details of the Evolution client because this one is overall my favorite. So having a look at Evolution, this is part of the GNOME apps you can see up here, and it's simply a personal information management application, integrated email, calendaring, address books. There's some extra functionality that you can get. It will work with Microsoft Exchange servers, so if you're forced to use a Microsoft account, you are going to be able to do that flawlessly with this. And we have a lot of other options that we have. You can get this as a flat pack in addition to the repositories, and nearly every distribution has this. Although I found it's not in the Snap Store, at least by default in Ubuntu. Maybe that was because my Ubuntu test was a minimal build and then I added the Snap Store later. I don't know why that is. I could still install it through the terminal, but I wanted to show you a system where we can start from not having it at all, finding it in your software repository, going ahead and getting that installed and things like that. Now you can, if you want to use the absolute latest versions, we do have, we can clone it. You can see the EWS. This is the Microsoft Exchange Server plugin. There's the older one as well. I think most people should use this one. And then there's some other options that you have up there as well. With that, though, what we're going to do is we're just going to go right on over to our distribution. And what I'm using for my distribution, I just grabbed one that I had already built in my VirtualBox. I tried Ubuntu. That wasn't going to work as far as the software store, and I kind of wanted to show you how to find it from the very basics. So I happen to have a Linux Mint XFCE build, and so we're just going to go ahead and head on over here. I did push all the system updates to make sure that everything was up to date before I went ahead and installed it. And here we are on the desktop of Linux Mint XFCE. And so when I go ahead and have a look over here, and what I'm going to do first is head on over to your software manager, and then we are going to look for Evolution. Now, it should be under either under Internet or Productivity is probably where you're going to find it. There you go. And you can see here there's a lot of other options for emails. So there are way more options, and everyone needs to kind of decide for themselves what you want to do. You can see here's Evolution. Now, if you go ahead and search for Evolution up here as well, I'm actually going to kick myself back to the main screen because what I want to show you is if you search for Evolution, you'll see a bunch of other things, and these are plugins in the repository. Installing Evolution, also installed the Evolution plugins. I was going to install this one manually if it didn't. So if you install Evolution and it does not have Evolution plugins installed, go ahead and install that. This is going to have some other options. We have mail notifications, calendar options, templates, other things like that. The things it doesn't install that you might want if you're using Microsoft at all, Evolution EWS is what's going to allow you to sync Evolution with Microsoft. We have LibreOffice Evolution for syncing address books. So think mail merging with databasing, things like that. And there might be some extra plugins in here as well. Of course, we have the Flatpak version down here as well. And you can see if there's other things related. Mostly all I want is Evolution and Evolution plugins for what we're going to do today. This is going to, by default, I believe it shows up under your Office tab, not under your Internet tab. Of course, you can move this on most distros. I'm not going to take the time to show you how to do that here. If it were Cinnamon, I could tell you exactly how I could do that off the top of my head. XFCE, not so much. We'll go ahead and boot up Evolution. And you can see that when we first boot it up, it's going to give us a welcome screen, which is going to have us set up. Now, we can walk through all our system. We can create a collection account. A collection account is basically like an online type account, like think Google account, Microsoft account. It has contacts, it has emails, it has calendaring. The other thing that would fit under a collection account is a Nextcloud account, albeit Nextcloud does not support email directly as a protocol. Contacts and calendaring does actually work. If this were a Cinnamon build or something on GNOME, I would actually be able to show you the online accounts. I don't believe that XFCE has online accounts, which it doesn't. If you have a operating system with online accounts and you sign into your Nextcloud, it's going to automatically sync your calendars and your contacts. Of course, you can disable that. If you use your online account, sync your Google account, Microsoft account, email will be in that list as well. So we're going to go ahead and hit next. We are not going to install from a backup. Of course, you can create a backup of everything, which is personal data, setting mail filters, etc. All sorts of stuff from a backup if you want to do that. Also good if you want to have the backups on a regular basis, throw it in your regular backup structure to do a backup. And that way, if you happen to need to rebuild your system, we can reinstall it from a backup that way. It's actually a methodology I have not actually tested. I'm going to add that to my list of things to test. All right. Over here, just go ahead and give it your name. We'll just call this Switch to Linux, and we're going to give it our email address. And the email address that I'm going to sacrifice for the love of doing this tutorial, just so that we actually have something there, it's going to be this one. You can do a reply to, you can set up aliases, you can set your organization. And you can see there's an option at the bottom to look up mail server details based on the entered email address. This email is a test on ISP config. I don't know if it will be able to probe those and find those or not. Hopefully, if it doesn't, I can figure out what they are, because I don't really know. If you're doing cPanel, any modern cPanel already has that set up. Of course, if you're doing Google, Microsoft, anything like that, it will work automatically. Let's go ahead and do that. It's going to look up account details. As I said, it might find them. It might not. I really don't know. If you don't want it to, you can hit the skip lookout. And it looks like it's like, I have no earthly idea what the hell you're doing. All right. So you can come over here. You can do POP, IMAP, Usenet, local delivery, MH. So there's a lot of them. I personally use POP3. That's not because I'm stuck in the 90s. That's because I want to keep my email servers as clear as possible in case of hackers. But then I manage all of my data. As I said, hey, I've not done the backup strategy. I have a different methodology that I do for backing up, although I admit it may not work the best. All right, this one here, I have no earthly idea what the settings might actually be for this. So maybe I should have looked that up. I thought I would have known them off the top of my head, and I can't remember for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to see if this works. Of course, we can select no encryption, start TLS. Let's give that a try. That may not be right, but that's okay. I really am not going to be showing you all of the emails and stuff. It's probably better if it doesn't work. That's an option that it's very easy. I could jump in any of the other emails that I know off the top of my head, but privacy security, I'm not going to do that. Now, when you have your receiving options, you can check for mail. You can change this timing if you want every 15 minutes. You can do that. If the default is an hour. You can check for messages in all folders, check in just subscribe folders. You can resync. You can listen for server change notifications. Number of current connections to use. So if you're worried, if you have a ton of email addresses and you're worried about bandwidth, you can change that. And then we have show only subscribed. Apply filters to new messages in all folders. We'll talk about message filters here in a bit. Check new messages for junk content. You can synchronize remote mail locally, or you can not synchronize certain mail. All right. So under your sending mail, you can set your server up over here. I'm just going to go ahead and put something in, even though it probably will not be right. Again, you can select your encryption method. Go ahead and hit next. And then we have our account summary. We get all of our information on there. And then we hit done. Most likely this is going to give me an error that's going to fail. But that's okay. I don't actually need to worry about that. All right, so can't connect because the certificate is not trusted. Let's go ahead and accept it permanently. And maybe I actually got it right off the top of my head. All right, let's go ahead and enter the password for this one and see if this actually works. Looks like that is probably not the correct password. Or the not right servers. I'm going to say it's probably not the right servers. Actually, I know the password's right. Okay, you need to stop bothering me now because, fine. It has an error because it cannot connect to my email server. That's perfectly okay. I don't really care that you to have to blur out the emails there anyway. So that's okay. That will work. It has never failed me before. It's just that this is set up on a really weird test server, and I just did not grab what those server settings are. I think it might actually be webmail, not IMAP, I think. But I don't know. Anyway, but when you get over here, we have the inbox, drafts, junk. Now, this is an IMAP, so it is actually setting up all of our emails here. What I do, as I said, is I do POP3, so I'm not going to get a separate contact list for each one. It's going to fill everything in. And then under my inbox, I can go ahead and create new folders here and there. And I use the folders in order to set up the, I'm just going to leave the orange box up there. It is refusing the connection because I have the settings wrong. That's okay. All right. So we can set up different folders, and this is how I do it. Is all of my emails filter into the inbox, and I'm going to use message filters to sort things into the different folders as we have it over here. All right. So accessing these, we have accounts, we have message filters, and we have search folders, and we have preferences. The accounts, this is where you can add different accounts. So here's mail accounts, address books, calendars, memo lists, and task lists. You can access each of those down here. So here's your contacts, here's your calendars, here's your tasks, here's your memos. So you have all those as different options there. All right. And of course, you can make any adjustments to those settings. Like if I think that I might have that wrong, I can go ahead and edit that and go down, find my server settings. So then we can go ahead and make any of those changes. We also have message filters. So message filters, you can set filters for incoming or outgoing messages. Just go ahead and hit add new, and we'll call this one that folder. And you're going to test your rules for either any accounts, or you can select the specific email accounts. I set mine on any because I want all of my emails filtering through. And then you can check that all of the following conditions or any of the following conditions. So all of them, you'll have multiple different conditions here. Any of them is any one of the conditions met. So if you say the sender contains this guy at email.com, you can add another one. Let's go, or that guy at email.com. So if all of those, obviously that would never work. But if I say any emails that come from either this guy at email.com or that guy at email.com, then we can move it. We can copy it to a folder. We can delete it. We can stop processing, set a label. We can assign a color to it, unset a color, assign a score, adjust a score, set status, beep, play a sound, run a program, pipe to a program, or you can forward it to. In my case, what I do is I move these to certain folders. So just go ahead and click here, and then the folder you want to move it to should automatically be set up. So now any email that comes through, it's going to automatically test the rules. And if it comes from this guy or that guy, it's going to move it out of my inbox and drop it into that folder. So I can do those setup rules for any of the different options that I have. And that really is a way to go. And so there is your filtering and tools. Let's talk about calendars here. So under your calendars, you can set your work week. You can do a week. You can do a month. You can do a list calendar. So there's a variety of different options that you have. We have a birthday and anniversary calendar. We have a personal calendar. These are set up by default. I'm going to go ahead and use the month because it's the way I have mine set, most familiar with it. So you can go ahead and click on this and you can set different events. So we have our dates. We have our time. You can set it as an all-day event or not. And then you can do a status, tentative, confirmed, or canceled. You can do URLs, things like that. Here's where you set reminders. So if you want to put in a reminder, I personally do not generally like reminders, but if it's something as important, maybe it's like a car inspection, I might put it a day before or something. If it's some random meeting, I might do an hour before, 15 minutes before. And then here is recurring. So if I want to make the appointment recurring, I can do that. And then any attachments I want to add, I can do that. This button here, which has the save and the X over it, I hate this icon, but that saves it and closes. This just saves it. This is the one that, no, that's cancels. What? I thought that was cancels. No, that's the show the time is busy or not. I think just to cancel it, I would do this without saving it and discard changes. We're going to go ahead and save changes, without any summary. So here is the event, and then they are going to be color coded. Now on my production systems where I have a Nextcloud integrated in, I actually have another calendar down here, which is my Nextcloud calendar. And that's actually the one that I use. That one syncs across my phone, across all my devices that I need it on, and through my Nextcloud account. So if I create an item here, I can actually choose which calendar it goes on, and my Nextcloud calendar is going to appear in this. Obviously, I'm not showing all that stuff because that contains like a lot of deeply sensitive information. So you'll have to use a little bit of imagination here on your calendars. Same thing with your contacts. You have a personal address book on here. If you are signing up a Nextcloud account, syncing it through like a GNOME, a Cinnamon, KDE online account sync. And I believe there is actually a separate online account sync application for this. If there is, I'll look into doing that as a completely separate video. So if you are using XFCE and still want to use that type of stuff, I know it is possible. I have not looked into all of the details because the integrating system through Cinnamon is what I use in my production systems. I know I'm using the same thing on Plasma because I have the same thing set up on my Plasma computer as well. But you can go ahead and create new contacts each in here. You can put it under different categories. So we have categories, anniversaries, we have business, gifts, holidays, status, phone calls, VIPs. You can create one for your, cliches, whatever. And then you can put in all the type of information in here. Pretty much has everything. And this is going to use, I believe this is going to use just your basic address file thing. So I know you can export the contacts, you can import the contacts. And again, on my Nextcloud, if I have that turned on, I don't because I don't use contacts for email stuff. But if I do, they will all appear over here. Everything appears in the list. I can add contacts directly to that, and it will cross-sync those everywhere. I probably should have for no other reason to manage my address book a little bit more easier than doing it on the phone or whatever else. But there is your calendars. As far as your task lists, the tasks and the memos I have never used before, but these are things if you want to leave yourself some notes, set task lists. I use sticky notes for task lists. So, I'm kind of old school that way. And so that is basically how you run your setups. You can add, remove different accounts, add your filters. Last thing we want to look at is our various preferences. So down under Edit and Preferences, we can see the mail accounts all listed over here. And you have different options for the mail accounts. We can actually do adjustments to all of the mail accounts through this screen in addition to the accounts screen. Under your contacts here, you can look at different maps. So if you want to have maps that are showing up, so somebody has an address or something in a contact, you can actually use OpenStreetMaps or Google, OpenStreetMaps being the default. You can do local default, or you can use a variety of different ways of doing the time. And that's one thing I do, is I do adjust the how the email format is. The timestamp format, I should say. All right, so mail preferences, you can check for new mail on start. You can check mail on all accounts, and then you can use the same font as other applications. So this takes the default for your system applications, or if you want, you can set default fonts. There's so many options inside of this. You can empty trash folders every time on exit, once per day, once per week, once per month, or immediately. So if you want to automatically delete trash files, you can do that. And there's some other options we have. HTML messages. Here's your labels. You can add and remove, change these to different colors. And here is the different headers that you might want to have in your system. And here's your junk messages. Delete junk every time. You can check incoming messages for junk, and then you can add custom headers into those. Composer preferences. This is actually one somebody had sent me a question on a comment the other day, and I'm pretty sure he did get it because he thanked me for the comment in there later, I believe. And so I just want to go ahead and point that out too. When you're replying, the quoted is where the basically the reply messages. You can reply as attached. You can put the previous message as an attachment, which drives me crazy. You can do inline, so just like the way Outlook does it. You can do quoted, which will take it and put it inside of a quote, and do not quote, I believe, strips it all out. I think that's what not quoted does. And then you can put it here and there, and I believe there's a place where you can start typing at the bottom. This is going to keep, this is another one that drives me crazy about some people's email. Putting the email under the quote. I think that's what that one's going to do. Keep that one toggled off, obviously. Here's your signatures. You can add various signatures. You can do it in plain text, HTML, Markdown. Markdown is HTML. So if you want to add your different signatures in there, you can go ahead and do that. And you can set those up, signatures per different email addresses. Hold on, let's go ahead and the SIG. We're going to go ahead and save this SIG there. And let's see if I can remember off the top of my head how to actually add the signature to it. There you go. So now under our signatures, you can do auto-generated, or you can do unnamed. Unnamed is a signature I just created. So now I can go back there, and now every time I'm doing an email or something, it will automatically put my signature down there. And that was the unnamed signature. All right, network preferences, how to detect online state. You can do default network manager. You can do other things. Calendars and tasks, you can do the various time zones. You can do whatever days you want to have set your work days, days begin, days end, things like that. And then here's your displays, tasks. So all the information that you will want to have over there. Here is your various certificates and your plugins over here. All right, so there is a walkthrough of the various settings and things and how to add the email addresses. And yes, it will work. I just don't remember what the exact settings were for this particular email address here, just because it was a weird test server. And that's better anyway, because I don't really want to expose the emails that's on that particular server. Anyway, so there is Evolution Client in a nutshell. Hopefully this video has helped you become familiar with this one. Let me know what email clients you want me to have a look at in the upcoming videos. I'm not going to do a whole series of email clients in a row, but I also use Thunderbird on a regular basis, and there's other things that I found in looking at different email clients that I want to test as well. So let me know in the comments down below what other email clients I should have a look at. And I'll go ahead and find these settings, or I'll just create a separate email address that we can tinker around with for the future ones, so you can get a better chance to see, and I'll just, add them and delete them as I need. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video here, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.